everybody? Welcome back to Jake's Sports World. This is episode 6. I'm so happy that you guys have come back. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button right there. Go down below, leave a comment. Make sure to hit that like button and turn on that bell notification. Thank you guys for coming back to another video, and let's get on to some NFL. Let's get into some breaking news around the league. The Kansas City Chiefs are signing former Packer wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling to a 3-year, $30 million deal on contract via Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport, some insiders from the NFL. This is a big move for Kansas City. After losing wide receiver Tyreek Hill in a trade to the Miami Dolphins and losing wide receiver Demarcus Robinson in free agency to the Las Vegas Raiders, they really needed help at that wide receiver core, and I think this is a big signing for the Chiefs. And I was almost seeing this coming, or a Julio Jones or OBJ going to Kansas City, because they really need help. And they were in the situation like the Packers were. They got a good pass-catching tight end in Robert Tonyan, but they have no wide receiver help whatsoever. And that's why it stokes me that they actually let Marquez Valdez-Scantling sign with a different team. Now, they could have in mind maybe wanting to go to Julio Jones' agent and ask him what he wants and maybe sign Julio Jones or Odell Beckham Jr., who knows, with the Green Bay Packers. But let's get back onto track with the Kansas City Chiefs. Via Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport, the Packers' former wide receiver is signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I said in my previous episode, the Chiefs have lost wide receiver Demarcus Robinson to the Raiders in free agency, and now Tyreek Hill in a trade with the Miami Dolphins. The Chiefs are now adding a weapon on the offense to accompany Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But what will the Chiefs' offense look like in 2022? Will it ever be the same again without those two assets in Demarcus Robinson and Tyreek Hill? I don't think so. I think the Chiefs' offense used to be super versatile, and they were including so much speed, and that really just transferred over to Miami. Because now look at the Dolphins. They've got Raheem Mostert at running back, one of the fastest running backs to ever play football. Tyreek Hill, the fastest player to ever play in the NFL. And Jalen Waddle, who is the fastest wide receiver, at least rookie-wise, coming out of last year's draft class. And he's just an absolute speed demon. They've got so much speed on that team, it's going to be dangerously scary for the Miami Dolphins. And if you have to play the Miami Dolphins. So let's talk about this more. Tell me what you think. Do you think the Chiefs' offense will ever be the same without those two receivers? This could be something strikingly different in the Chiefs' offense. And I think the Packers are really stupid for letting go wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And he's getting paid 3 years for $30 million on contract. Man, get me out on that dang football field. I'll go and, run some routes, catch a football in the end zone. Give me $30 million for 3 years. Dude, I'll go out there and I'll do it every single day. And I am just surprised that they are paying that much for Valdez-Scantling. And I'm surprised that the Packers did not re-sign him, since he is getting... And I mean, I could see it. Getting that big deal like that is not as crazy as Christian Kirk going to the Jaguars for $83 million, which is ridiculous. But this is still something crazy. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, no disrespect, man, but he is a tier 2 wide receiver, tier 3 wide receiver. He's still at that, college level. He's not crazy. He's not amazing, but he is solid. He is a solid wide receiver. But I'm just so confused on why the Packers just let him go after knowing that they have no wide receivers on that team, and the only one guy that can really catch a football on that team right now is Aaron Jones, who's a good receiving back, but if he gets injured, you got Robert Tonyan. And, maybe A.J. Dillon can, jump in for a couple plays, maybe catch some passes, but those are running backs. They're not meant to catch the ball. They're meant to run with the ball. And that's why this one shocks me, really. It shocks me. Marquez Valdez-Scantling was rumored to go to San Francisco. He was rumored to go to Denver. He was rumored to go to Philadelphia, Miami. And instead the Packers let him go to the Chiefs, which really just surprises me. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think that was actually a good thing for the Green Bay Packers, just let him go off the leash? Do you think the Chiefs overpaid for Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Tell me in the comments below as we get into some other breaking news. Patriots are signing former Titans defensive back Malcolm Butler to a 2-year, $9 million on contract. The end zone Super Bowl ceiling defensive back is headed back to the New England Patriots. Was this a good move? Tell me in the comments below. I do think this was a good move. They're kind of hurting at that, that cornerback spot after letting Stefan Gilmore walk last year, now letting J.C. Jackson walk. They're really hurting back there, and I think Devin McCourty is really going to be the only one really holding that area up. And yes, Malcolm Butler is getting up in age, but he performed really well with the Tennessee Titans, and I think this is a good signing by... I think this is really a good signing by the Patriots, going back out and getting someone that they already know, someone that they trust on that back secondary. And I think that the Patriots, I think Malcolm Butler knew too that he was going into a defense that he already knew the scheme of. He already knew kind of what that secondary is like, and he's ready to go back to New England. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think Malcolm Butler got underpaid here? Do you think he should have asked him more? Do you think 2 years is a little too much? Do you think he should have gotten more on a deal like that? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think that was a good signing for New England? Tell me in the comments below. In your guys' eyes, as we head on to another note, how crazy on a scale from 1 to 10 has this offseason been so far? How crazy was the Russ to Denver, Wentz to Washington, Ryan to the Colts, Adams to the Raiders, Hill to the Dolphins, Rodgers re-signing with the Packers? Really, how crazy on a scale from 1 to 10 has this offseason been? 1 being not so crazy, 10 being the craziest offseason in NFL history. I think this is about a 9. Now, I think last offseason was still a crazy offseason, but this offseason has really got people moving. This has been one of the craziest offseasons ever, and we're not even over yet. We still got the NFL draft at the end of April, beginning of May. We still got a bunch of free agents out on the market that we'll get to in a second, and I think that, really, Russ to Denver was not something I saw coming. I knew Russ was going to go somewhere. I thought he was going to Washington. That didn't end up happening. Instead, Russ to Denver, Wentz to Washington, Matt Ryan to the Colts, Davante Adams, I thought, said he was going to, he got franchise tag, said he wasn't going to play under the franchise tag, and then he goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. And now, Tyreek Hill is the same thing. He wanted that contract extension. They couldn't get a deal done. He wanted to request a trade. He got the trade to the Miami Dolphins, and of course, he is super happy to go to Miami. Tell me what you think. Do you think this is a crazy offseason? Yes or no on a scale from 1 to 10. How crazy has this offseason been so far? As we get into some top free agents and my predictions on where they will sign, let's start it off with Tyron Matthews, safety, former Kansas City Chiefs player. I think he's going to sign with the Las Vegas Raiders. And, I think that's a really good fit for Las Vegas. And I think that's a good fit for Tyron Matthews. He is kind of on the same page as Davante Adams and Derek Carr were on. He has got connections with Davante Adams, and he's gotten connections with some of the people on the defense already. And I think that it's gonna be really different in Las Vegas next year. And I think the Raiders are gonna do really good. And if they get Tyron Matthews, it's just gonna make it better. Let's also get to Odell Beckham Jr. He tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 56 against the Cincinnati Bengals. And he could possibly not even play next year. And that's why I think he's going to re-sign with the Rams on a probably 2 or 3 year deal for, maybe $50+ million. $50 million, of course. And I think the Rams, now that they have gotten rid of Robert Woods, now they have Cooper Kupp and OBJ, now they need another wide receiver on that offense. And I think OBJ would be a perfect fit. And, of course, we saw that last year. He did really good with the Rams. And I think there's no reason for the Rams not to re-sign him. And if he doesn't re-sign with the Rams, he's probably going to Green Bay. That's just my prediction. Let's go on to Stefan Gilmore, former defensive back for the Patriots and the Panthers. I think he's going to the Las Vegas Raiders as well. The Raiders are kind of hurting in that secondary. That's why I see them getting Tyron Matthews and Stefan Gilmore. Now, after getting Davante Adams on that big deal, I think they're probably not going to have a lot of money to spare, but I think that Tyron Matthews and Stefan Gilmore would be a great asset to that defense, and that connection right there would be crazy, and I'm pretty sure that defense probably would be number 1 in the league if that did happen. I see that happening. I think the Las Vegas Raiders are going to sign Stefan Gilmore probably to a 1 or 2 year deal, probably within the $50 to $60 million range. And yeah, that's my prediction on Stefan Gilmore. If he doesn't go to the Raiders, he's probably going to re-sign with the Panthers in that sense. Let's go on to offensive tackle Dwayne Brown coming from the Seattle Seahawks. I think he's going to go to the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have also gotten Tyron Armstead in free agency. They've gotten, of course, Tyreek Hill in trade via Kansas City, and they've gotten a lot of other people during free agency, and I think this would probably be one of the bigger ones besides Tyreek Hill. Dwayne Brown is an amazing offensive lineman, and I think that signing with the Miami Dolphins will just really give the protection for Tua that he needs. Tyron Armstead and Dwayne Brown on the same offensive line would just be ridiculous, and I think that Miami Dolphins team could possibly win the division. And it's crazy to think that that could possibly happen, and that's why I think that is going to happen. As we move on to Bobby Wagner, former linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks, got released from the Seahawks after the Russell Wilson trade. I think he's going to go to the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, the Cowboys have a pretty solid linebacking core. I don't think that Micah Parsons is just going to be that super stud defensive guy, besides, of course, Trayvon Diggs. And, of course, now DeMarcus Lawrence. And, losing someone like Randy Gregory to the Denver Broncos, they want a veteran linebacker. And I think Bobby Wagner would do great in Dallas. And that's why he's going to the Dallas Cowboys. And that's just my prediction. As we move on to edge, Jadeveon Clowney, I think he's going to go to the New England Patriots. It makes a little too much sense. Jadeveon Clowney kind of has that he has that mentality. He knows what's going on there. He's had past connections with Kyle Van Noy, and he's got he has almost a similar play to Kyle Van Noy. Of course, he's an edge. Kyle Van Noy is a linebacker, but he's got that connection there, and I feel like there's that connection there is going to really bring them together close on a deal. As we move on to our next free agent candidate, Calais Campbell. Now, he was former with the Ravens, and of course before that with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Calais Campbell is going to re-sign with the Ravens. I don't really think the Ravens are going to pay them that much, and it's probably going to be on like 1 or 2 year deal, since Calais Campbell's getting up there in age, and he didn't do a lot last year. Calais Campbell is definitely going down when it comes to progression, but I think he's still a good veteran piece to a defense, and he could really change a whole defense within 2 plays, and that's why I think they're going to re-sign with him. As we move on to our next free agent, as we're going on to wide receiver Jarvis Landry, after getting released by the Cleveland Browns, there's rumors that he could go back to the Browns after getting released from them. I think he's going to go to the New England Patriots. It makes sense since Mac Jones doesn't really have a target to throw to besides Kendrick Bourne right now, and of course Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. They need an extra wide receiver. They're kind of like the Packers now, where they have Amari Rodgers to throw to and a good tight end and a good running back, kind of just like New England, but they need that extra wide receiver, and I think that it would be a really good fit there. We could also see him be going to San Francisco. We could see him go to maybe even Kansas City. You just don't know. But I do think he's going to go to the New England Patriots. As we move on to our next free agent candidate, wide receiver Will Fuller. I think he's going to go to the Denver Broncos, sense of the fact that Russell Wilson is there now. They still got a pretty stout offensive line, and I think Will Fuller kind of has that mentality of, I'm going to go with a good quarterback, because, of course, we saw what happened last year with Tua. Tua's not the greatest of quarterbacks, but he knows if he goes to a solid quarterback, Will Fuller can be a really good wide receiver, and we saw that with the Texans and Deshaun Watson with Will Fuller. We could also see him go to the Cleveland Browns with his former teammate Deshaun Watson, and I think that would probably be a good signing by him, since Cleveland is kind of hurting at the wide receiver spot besides Amari Cooper that they got in a trade. I think that possibly we could see like a connection there. As we move on to our next one, second to last, wide receiver Julio Jones. I think he's going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've already saw Tom Brady trying to recruit him. I think that's probably the top place I see him going besides Green Bay. Julio Jones, I feel like he doesn't want to go to Tampa Bay, or he would have already signed with them, but I still see him going to Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. It just makes a little too much sense to me. As we move on to our last candidate before we wrap up the episode, Melvin Gordon, the running back and the running back for the Denver Broncos. Of course, he's a free agent. I think he's going to go to the San Francisco 49ers, as there's been a lot of rumors about it. The 49ers are not really hurting at the running back position, but now that Raheem Mostert is gone from San Francisco, he's signed with the Miami Dolphins. We've only got Elijah Mitchell with us now, and so I see Melvin Gordon possibly going on like a maybe 3 or 4 year deal. We could pay him maybe like $20 million, $15 million, something like that on a salary. I think Melvin Gordon would be a good asset to this offense with Trey Lance starting at quarterback and maybe even Jimmy Garoppolo. Who knows? Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Where do you think these free agents will sign? Tell me, do you think that the Chiefs signing Packers wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling to a 3-year, $30 million deal, do you think that was a good signing by them? Do you think the Patriots should have not gone out and got Malcolm Butler? Do you think it was a good deal? Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you guys for coming back to episode 6 of Jake's Sports World, and I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, and make sure to hit that like button and turn on post notifications so you stay updated with the best and latest NFL news and rumors. Thank you guys for coming to the next episode, and I'll see you all in episode 7. See ya.
Subscribe to the channel for cookies.